I'm Maheshika Halbeisen, and this is the Queen Elizabeth Leadership Podcast, the show where we discuss the leadership lessons from the book, The Job Well Done, The Queen's Way to Successful Leadership.
Welcome back, everyone. You know, for this deep dive, I gotta say, we're learning leadership from the absolute best, Queen Elizabeth II.
Absolutely.
We've got Dr. Maheshika Halbeisen's book, The Job Well Done, to guide us, and we're really zeroing in on Chapter 6, Embracing Change.
It's a good one.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Okay, what can a queen teach me about handling today's crazy world? But honestly, that's what's so cool. Like, her experiences, they've got this timeless wisdom to them.
Yeah, see, Queen Elizabeth's reign, it wasn't just, long, but the amount of change she saw. Mind-blowing. We're talking like latter half of the 20th century into the 21st, right? Huge tech leaps, social norms shifting left and right, globalization. I mean, where do you even stop?
It really makes your head spin when you try to picture it. I mean, this is a woman who sent the first ever royal email, for goodness sake. But you're right. It's not about just keeping up with the latest gadget, is it? It's about steering a whole nation through these massive shifts without, losing what the monarchy even is.
And that is exactly what we're digging into today. How'd she do it?
Yeah.
How'd Queen Elizabeth embrace change but not lose sight of tradition? The book really hammers home this point. She adapted like crazy but never lost her anchor.
Okay, I love that image. So let's break down this whole Queen's adaptability thing. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Imagine going from those old rotary phones to, boom, you can talk to anyone in your pocket instantly. That's basically the tech leap during her time.
It's wild, isn't it? And it wasn't even just, oh, the Queen's on TV now, or she sent a message about the moon landing. Though those were huge deals at the time. It's more like she understood tech could actually make the monarchy's core values even stronger if it was used right.
So she saw these new gadgets, these advancements, as a way to connect with her people on a deeper level.
Exactly. Think about it. 1953, her coronation gets televised. That was massive. Brought the monarchy closer to everyday folks than it had ever been. Like, tradition was literally embracing this brand new thing.
Wow, yeah.
And then her Christmas broadcasts. Every year, bam, talking directly to everyone, offering comfort, sharing thoughts, strengthen that bond like you wouldn't believe.
It's amazing, though, right? She used these tools, but never let them outshine what she actually represented.
And that's huge. The book, it talks about how she saw tradition like a ship's anchor. Provides stability, but doesn't mean you're stuck, right?
Oh, I like that.
It's not about clinging to how things have always looked. It's the why behind them, the purpose that matters.
So less about the how and more about the why of tradition. You got to get the deeper meaning behind it all, the values.
Bingo.
Yeah.
She modernized how the monarchy did things, but stayed true to what it all meant. She knew, to stay relevant, things had to evolve.
Do you have any other examples of how she pulled off this balancing act? Tradition on one hand, keeping up with the times on the other.
Oh, tons.
Ah.
Her fashion, for one, it's actually fascinating. You look at how she dressed, across decades.
Right.
And there's a real change in style, obviously, but always that elegance, that sense of occasion. Tradition doesn't have to mean being stuck in the past. It's about carrying that essence forward, but letting it evolve.
Like she got that the clothes themselves could change, but what they stood for. Dignity, respect, that sense of continuity. Those were the constants.
Exactly. And that wasn't just fashion. It went to how she handled social change, too.
Yeah.
The book, it talks about how she navigated all those shifting attitudes, that same blend of adapting but staying rooted.
And that makes me think about her dedication to public service. I mean, that was huge for her throughout her entire reign. And it wasn't just about, the ceremonies, right? It ran deeper. She truly felt a responsibility to serve her people.
100%. And that commitment to service, it came straight from tradition. All that protocol, the rituals, those ceremonies, she didn't see them as just for show. It was tangible, her dedication to the institution and to the people through that.
So for her, tradition wasn't about being stuffy or out of touch. It was almost a way to connect with something bigger, something that had been passed down through generations.
You got it.
Tradition done right, it's more than rules and rituals. It's about belonging and shared purpose, community, all that stuff we kind of lose sight of these days in our crazy fast world.
It's true. And we always think of tradition as being about the past, but the Queen, she showed it can be this powerful tool for right now, for the future even.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And you see this in how she was all about preserving history, and the Commonwealth, things that might seem kind of old-fashioned on the surface.
Right.
But to her, they were about keeping that legacy going, those connections to the past, and making sure they still meant something as the world changed around them.
And you can't forget about her interactions on the world stage. It's amazing how much respect she had for other cultures, her sensitivity to it all.
Oh, for sure. There's this part in the book about how she took her shoes off right before going into some sacred temple in South Korea.
Wow. Yeah.
And get this, she offered coffee to President Trump, which, knowing how much he hated all that formal stuff, probably saved some serious diplomatic headaches.
Those are great examples. It's like she wasn't about ditching her own traditions, but making space for others, understanding and respecting them. That's its own kind of adaptability, isn't it?
You got it. Tradition isn't one size fits all. It's this big, diverse thing that's always evolving. And she just got that, respecting all of it, her own and everyone else's. That was key to navigating a world where all these different cultures were colliding.
So we've seen how Queen Elizabeth totally nailed this balance between tradition and keeping up with the times. But what about when it goes wrong? When we resist change, cling too tight to the old ways? What happens then? What are the downsides?
That is the question. And the book, it actually gives us a bit of a warning sign. The Shah of Iran.
Okay, yeah, the Shah of Iran. That does seem like kind of a left turn. What can we learn from him, and how does it connect back to Queen Elizabeth?
So the Shah, just like the Queen, he was coming into his own during this time of crazy change, right? And he was dead set on modernizing Iran, getting them on the world stage. And got to give him credit, he made huge changes, infrastructure, education. But his approach, that's where it gets different.
So he was all about change too, but it sounds like it didn't go so well. What was the difference?
See, the Shah, when he pushed for all this modernization, a lot of people, they felt like he was ditching Iran's identity, cutting them off from their own past.
Oh, okay.
He missed how important that connection is. Even when you're making progress, people need that sense of being grounded. His reforms, they were so fast, so much at once, that it felt jarring, not connected to anything familiar.
So it's like he ripped the Band-Aid off instead of peeling it back slowly. The Queen, she let people adjust to the changes more gradually.
Exactly. And that is where her way of doing things really shines. She knew that for people to really embrace change, it has to be tied to something they recognize. She didn't just throw tradition out, she built on top of it.
This idea of keeping things steady while moving forward, that's huge for anyone, right? Leading a company, a team, even just in your own life, wouldn't you say?
It's everything. Tradition, innovation, they're not enemies. They can be crazy powerful together. Because you're right, tradition without change, it gets stale, loses its edge. But change without tradition, it's like untethered, maybe even reckless.
You got to know where you came from to know where you're going.
Right.
The Queen, she really embodied that, honoring the past but still moving with the times. We don't have to pick one or the other.
We really don't. And that's worth thinking about, isn't it? What traditions keep you grounded when things get messy? What are you willing to change so you can thrive down the road? That balance, that's the sweet spot, where tradition and innovation work together. That's where real progress happens.
Man, that's something to chew on for sure. Well, there you have it. Leadership lessons from a queen. Sometimes the best way to move forward is to actually look back, understand where you've been, respect that, then take the leap. Until next time, everyone, keep exploring those big questions. And remember, change doesn't have to mean leaving everything behind.
Are you ready to elevate your leadership to new heights? Learn from the Queen? Follow us on this podcast and get your copy, The Job Well Done, The Queen's Way to Successful Leadership. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search Maheshika Halbeisen and tell me how the Queen has inspired you.